Fired for her kindness, Maid feeds homeless man, not knowing his incredible life-changing secret. Grace woke before dawn, her fingers fumbling to tie her long hair back into a tidy bun. She slipped into her crisp Maid uniform, feeling the rush of anticipation and anxiety as the day ahead loomed like an unending cycle of cleaning rooms and mopping floors. The echoes of city buses and honking cars blended with her thoughts of Emily, her bright-eyed daughter waiting for her at home. Each morning, Grace faced the world fueled by the hope that she could provide a better life for her little girl, even while feeling the weight of endless inequality pressing against her heart. Just as she settled into her rhythm, her lunch break arrived, and she darted through the chaos of Chicago streets, carrying her modest bag of homemade food. In an alleyway where shadows lingered, she stumbled upon a man with ragged clothes and soulful eyes. Daniel. A shiver ran through her as their gazes locked. There was an unmistakable connection, a silent understanding of shared struggle. With no hesitation, she reached into her bag and offered him half of her sandwich. "Here," she said, warmth spreading in her chest as he accepted. At that moment, a friendship blossomed, defying their circumstances. Daniel spoke softly about his experiences, and as Grace listened, her heart twisted at the revelation of his past. He was a decorated war veteran, haunted by memories of battles fought in lands far away. She could see the pain etched in his features, a man who once had a home, a family, but now found himself lost in a world that had forgotten him. Each story he shared painted a vivid picture of resilience, of dreams that once were alive but had faded to echoes of despair. The truth of his struggle ignited an undeniable connection, sparking something powerful. Grace's heart swelled with compassion as if she was part of something larger than herself. But the fragility of their bond came crashing down when her manager caught her feeding Daniel. The fury in his eyes betrayed what was to come. "You're fired," he shouted, the words slicing through her like glass. Her heart dropped, panic seizing her thoughts about Emily and their future. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As whispers of outrage spread among her co-workers, a fire kindled in their spirits. They had witnessed her act of kindness and rallied behind her, igniting a rebellion against the corporate coldness that had always lurked beneath the polished facade of the hotel. Memories of Grace's upbringing echoed in her mind, how her parents had taught her to lend a hand, how kindness was a currency worth more than gold. But faced with the void of losing her job, doubt crept in. Could she truly stand up against the powers that be? Amidst the turmoil, determination surged within her. Confronting the hotel's corporate leaders became more than just reclaiming her job, it transformed into a stirring demand for recognition and change, echoing the haunting stories of men like Daniel. Would the city hear her plea? Could the warmth of empathy light the shadows of indifference that surrounded them both? As the stakes soared higher, Grace stood at a crossroads, filled with uncertainty but also the shimmering hope for a future where compassion could rewrite their stories. The sound of her manager's voice echoed in her head as she stepped out of the hotel. "You're fired." The words replayed like a chilling mantra, sending ripples of dread through her. Staring at the bustling street ahead, Grace felt hollow. How would she explain this to Emily? The little girl depended on her, and now it seemed that the light she held for them both was dimming. As she wandered down the busy sidewalk, the warmth of that small shared moment with Daniel lingered. Could she really let that go? The thought stirred within her, perhaps this was not just a loss but an invitation to something greater. Her heart raced, propelled by an awakening sense of purpose. Why should she remain silent, caged in fear when there were lives at stake, including her own? With renewed resolve, Grace headed to her co-worker's apartment. The plan was to gather support from those who understood the other employees who had felt the oppressive weight of corporate indifference. As she entered the building, familiar faces greeted her, expressions of solidarity brightening the air. "We saw what happened, Grace," said Maria, her closest ally. "It's ridiculous. You didn't deserve that. We're with you." Her words fueled a fire inside Grace. Together, they would organize a meeting, a rally, not just for her job but for their collective voices. The more she shared her story, the more she realized this was not only about her situation. It was about the people like Daniel, the countless individuals forgotten by the system. The next day, they gathered in the park, inviting those who wanted to join their cause. A palpable buzz filled the air as employees from different departments came together. Grace stood at the forefront, clutching a makeshift sign that read, "Compassion over corporate greed." As she spoke, her voice trembled but grew stronger with each word. She shared her encounter with Daniel and the truth that awakened her to the warmth of caring for others. "What if we made it bigger?" Another coworker shouted, raising a fist in solidarity. "What if we reached out beyond just us?" The roar of agreement swept across the crowd. Hope surged through Grace's veins. This was transforming into something monumental. In the days that followed, they crafted a petition, gathering signatures from hotel guests, residents, and even the frequenters of the city's nearby shelters. They documented stories of those who had faced hardship and urged the hotel to reconsider its approach to kindness, how it too could play a role in transforming the lives of those who walked through its doors. Yet, just as momentum began to swell like the tide, an unexpected challenge arose. Rumors spread that the hotel chain's corporate executives were planning to make an example of Grace. Faced with the threat of legal ramifications, her resolve began to quiver. Seconds felt like hours as Grace realized the enormity of the battles she had ignited. Why had she drawn such a line in the sand? Then came a text from Daniel. "I never thought I'd be rallying behind someone again." It was short but strong enough to light a fire in her heart. "You're not alone. We will fight this." Grace clenched the phone tightly, her heart racing. With her voice shaking, she gathered the crowd once more. "If we want to change this narrative, we cannot back down, not now." Would they find the strength to stand against the impending storm? With the shadows of fear looming, Grace's heart pounded, knowing that their unity might be the only hope for scoring a victory not just for herself, but for countless souls in need. And as the winds of change began to swirl, a new tension twisted in the air. The moment was setting up for a fight that might shake their universe to its core. But little did Grace know, a surprising ally was waiting in the wings, someone tied to Daniel's past, who could change everything. Would the truth propel her forward into the fight of her life? The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the park. The crowd swelled with eager faces, each one reflecting a blend of hope and anxiety. Grace stood tall, gripping her sign tightly, the weight of the moment pressing on her shoulders. She could feel her heartbeat thrumming like a drum inside her, each pulse echoing the fears that swarmed her mind. "Today is about more than just me," she began, her voice rising above the murmurs. "It's about every one of us who has felt small under the weight of indifference. We are here to reclaim dignity for ourselves and for those like Daniel." A wave of applause washed over her, lifting her spirits. But as she scanned the crowd, Grace spotted someone who made her chest tighten with uncertainty. Just past the familiar faces, a businessman in a sharp suit lingered at the edge, observing. His expression was unreadable. She felt a sense of dread wash over her, caught between the empowerment of their movement and the chilling fear of what the corporate titans would do next. "Let us make this our moment," Grace shouted, lifting her sign higher. The crowd roared with agreement. The energy shifted, and the fear began to dissipate like fog in the morning sun. Together, they were igniting a fire, a revolution, a call for kindness swallowed in the sea of greed. As the rally wound down, Grace noticed Daniel pushing through the throng of people. His presence was a warm balm against the harsh reality. "You were incredible," he said, grabbing her hand and squeezing it. Grace smiled, feeling a stir of camaraderie swell in her chest. But we can't stop here. We need help, Grace replied, her voice more a whisper now. The whispers of retaliation are getting louder. We have to be strategic. Daniel nodded, eyes flashing with determination. I know someone who may help us, he said slowly. Someone from my past. They have connections, but approaching them would mean revealing my story. And I'm not sure if I'm ready. Her heart twisted with empathy. Daniel, whatever it is, you've been brave already. You've helped more people than you know. Maybe he hesitated, taking a deep breath. But what I'm hiding could change everything. It could either make this movement stronger or destroy it. Grace felt a lump form in her throat. I believe in you. We need to build this together, whatever it is. Just then, the businessman stepped forward, interrupting their moment. Excuse me, he said, his voice smooth yet sharp. I couldn't help but overhear. I represent the corporate office, and I'd like to discuss your little uprising. A collective hush fell over the crowd, eyes darting between Grace, Daniel, and the corporate man. The tension thickened like summer air before a storm. What do you want? Grace shot back, fire igniting in her chest. We're standing up against the very things you represent. The businessman chuckled lightly, his gaze unwavering. Don't you realize? Change doesn't have to come from chaos. The company is willing to negotiate if you agree to back down. Retaliation thrummed in Grace's veins, but she recognized the strategic push. We will not back down until we are heard. We stand for something bigger. The businessman's eyes narrowed, a challenge sparking between them. Then this is just the beginning. As he retreated, anxiety churned in Grace's stomach. The stakes were rising, and each choice she made from here could ripple into the lives of so many. In the silence that followed, amidst the whispers of the crowd, Daniel turned to her. This is our fight now, Grace. Are you ready for what's to come? Grace squared her shoulders, heart racing. The fight had only begun, and with newfound resolve, she realized they were in deeper than they ever imagined. Yet as they turned back to the crowd, a familiar face emerged from the shadows, someone who could alter the course of their journey entirely. Would this person carry secrets to forge an undeniable ally, or fuel their downfall? The sun dipped lower, wrapping the park in a warm embrace, but Grace felt a chill creep up her spine. The crowd was still buzzing, a wave of energy pulsing through them, yet her heart raced with uncertainty. She turned to Daniel, who looked past her into the crowd, his expression shifting from determination to something more reflective, almost worried. Who is that? Daniel asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Grace followed his gaze to the figure moving toward them. Her heart sank as she recognized the woman, a journalist named Maya, someone Daniel once mentioned but never in detail. Maya had made a name for herself covering stories that could topple kings. Grace swallowed hard. Was this the person they needed, or was she the secret that could expose Daniel's past? Maya approached, her presence commanding immediate attention. Grace, Daniel, I heard the commotion. It looks like you've stirred something big here. Her sharp gaze flicked between them, gauging their reactions. Do you want a story? Grace said, her voice steady despite the anxiety pooling in her stomach. Because we're not backing down. We're asking for change for people like Daniel. Maya's lips curled into a smirk, but there was no amusement in her eyes. Change comes at a price, doesn't it? I can help you, but you need to understand the risks. Daniel stepped forward, clenching his fists. You don't know what you're asking. The truth could destroy everything we're building. But it could also save lives, Maya countered, her voice firm. You think standing up against the corporation is enough? They have power, and they will fight back. You need allies, and sometimes the truth is the strongest weapon you have. Grace's heart raced. Did she trust Maya? The question loomed, heavy and uncertain. What do you know about Daniel? What kind of truth are we talking about? Maya glanced at Daniel, whose face was now a cocktail of emotions: fear, anger, regret. I know he has a story that can spark change. But it also has consequences. Are you prepared for the fallout? Daniel, we can't let fear stop us, Grace said, forcing her voice to remain calm, even as her insides twisted. If his story can help, we owe it to everyone counting on us to share it. Daniel took a deep breath, his body tense. You don't understand what's at stake. It's not just my past. It's my family. If we go public, it could destroy them too. Maya's expression softened slightly. It might not be as simple as you think, Daniel. But the world needs to hear your voice, perhaps now more than ever. The tension hung thick in the air, and Grace could feel the weight of the choice before them. Would revealing Daniel's story rally support and open doors, or would it expose vulnerabilities that could lead to ruin? Suddenly, the businessman re-emerged at the edge of the gathering, a smug smile creeping across his face. Isn't this sweet? Passionate speeches and heart-wrenching stories, but how will that hold up when the company's lawyers come knocking? A murmur spread amongst the crowd. People began to look from Grace to Daniel and then to Maya, uncertainty weaving its way through the gathering. Grace took a step forward, her pulse racing. We won't be intimidated. We have each other, and we have our voices. We may not have power, but we have. Daniel reached for her arm, his eyes pleading. Grace, let us pause. We need to think this through. But before she could respond, Maya interjected, her voice cutting through the tension. Sometimes you don't have time to think. Sometimes the moment demands action. As the word settled, Grace felt a fire ignite deep within her. Maybe they didn't have to plan every detail, maybe it was time for a bold leap forward. In that instant, she felt the weight of the moment. If they chose to move forward, there would be no turning back. They could stand strong together or watch everything unravel. As the crowd held its collective breath, Grace glanced at Daniel and Maya, her heart aching with all she now had to confront. Then let us not waste time. We have a story that the world needs to hear. But would the world truly be ready for the truth they were about to unleash? Would it bring them closer to the justice they were fighting for, or would it seal their fate in ways they could never foresee? The crowd fell silent, an electric pulse filling the air. Grace felt their eyes on her, waiting, expecting. The moment was thick with anticipation, and every heart seemed to beat in sync with hers. She could see Daniel's eyes widening, fear creeping in, but her resolve hardened. Let us do it, she said, her voice louder now. Let us share Daniel's story. All of it. Daniel opened his mouth to protest, but Maya placed a hand on his shoulder, steadying him. Listen, Daniel. The truth isn't comfortable, but it sometimes has a way of cutting through the noise. It can illuminate the darkest corners. Grace's heart raced again, not just with fear but with a surge of hope. Could they actually make a difference? She caught sight of the businessman on the outskirts, still smirking, his glances piercing like cold shards of ice. The thought that he was watching every move pushed her forward. We need to show them, she said, her voice charging with conviction. Show them that they can't silence us. It's not just Daniel's story, it's a story for everyone who has ever been hurt or overlooked. The murmurs emerged again among the crowd, voices rising. Some nodded, others hesitated, but there was a momentum growing. Grace felt it building, a shift in the air, a whisper of unity coming from the depths of uncertainty. Daniel, we can rally people. We can shine a light where it's needed most, Grace urged, her gaze locked onto his. She searched his face for a glimpse of understanding. This could change everything. He hesitated, his brow furrowing. I don't want to put my family at risk, he admitted, his voice trembling. Maya stepped forward. Sometimes standing up means putting your fear aside for something greater. Her words hung in the air, powerful, almost palpable. Each heartbeat felt like a drum roll, calling them to action. Daniel's shoulders slumped, the weight of the world hanging from them. If we do this, we can't backtrack. We need to be ready for whatever follows. Then let us be ready, Grace said, feeling a rush of adrenaline. As she looked at the crowd, she saw scattered faces light up with possibility. A fire was flickering, and she was afraid to let it dim. Let us stand together, she called out, her voice powerful. Let us be the voice for those who've been silenced. We have the power to force change. A roar erupted from the crowd, building into a wave of energy that swept through them. Daniel took a deep breath, his hesitation waning as the energy surrounded him. He nodded slowly, finally lifting his chin. All right. Let us do it. Suddenly, the businessman's smirk faltered, his composure wavering as he realized the tide was turning. The air was charged, and the crowd's energy only intensified, a collective decision forming in their hearts. They were ready. Ready to fight, to stand for those who needed it. And for Daniel, it meant confronting his past, the shadows he thought he could leave behind. As Maya raised her phone, ready to record their declaration, Grace felt a surge of emotion rising within her chest. This isn't just our story. It's the start of a movement. Her voice cracked with the weight of what was to come. Would it be enough to break through the walls surrounding them? Would they become a beacon of hope, or would they become targets themselves? The thought hung heavy, pulling her deep into its gravity like a black void. But there was no turning back now. They had taken the leap. As the sun dipped lower behind the horizon, casting long shadows across the park, they stood united, each heartbeat echoing in the stillness. Grace squeezed Daniel's hand one last time, a silent promise to face whatever came their way together. But lurking beneath their determination was a question: was their courage greater than the darkness that lay ahead? Would they rise, or would they crumble under the weight of their truths? The crowd buzzed with new energy, each person feeling the shift that had taken place. Grace could see fear mingling with excitement on Daniel's face, like a storm over calm waters. He had made his choice, and now it was time to act. Maya took a step back, letting the focal point shift toward Daniel. Grace's heart raced. She understood that the next moments would define them all. All right, he started, his voice shaky but gaining strength with every word, I'm ready. But we need to be honest. The truth can hurt, but it can also heal. He took a deep breath, grounding himself. I've lost everything because I tried too hard to fit in. I lost my job, my self-respect, and in the process, I almost lost my family. The crowd listened in rapt silence, whispers of recognition flitting through the group. Grace felt a knot in her throat. Daniel's pain was palpable. This wasn't just his story, it was a mirror reflecting the struggles of many around them. Suddenly, the businessman stepped forward, rekindling the tension in the air. You think this will change anything? His voice was mockingly smooth, but inside it seethed with irritation. You're just a group of misfits, desperate for attention. The crowd bristled, and Grace felt the heat rise within her. No, she shot back, her voice a clarion call against his bitterness. We're not desperate. We're determined. The challenge sparked a murmur of agreement. As the businessman faltered, the energy surged again, like a wave crashing against a cliff. It was more than just Daniel's personal tale, it was the universality of struggle against indifference that resonated deeply. Daniel continued, I worked for a company that promised community, helping those less fortunate. But as soon as I stood up for someone who needed a voice, they buried the truth. They didn't want the public to see what was really happening, and they silenced me. The crowd began shifting, a low hum of shared experiences echoing back at Daniel's words. Each story seemed to thread into the next, creating an intricate tapestry of what they had all faced. Grace found herself moved by the stories people shared, deep wounds, dreams deferred, and the relentless push for dignity. Being kind in a harsh world is not a weakness, we must hold on to that innate goodness. Maya exclaimed, her voice rising over the swell of emotions. Grace felt her resolve strengthening. Let us take back our power. Let us show everyone that kindness is strength, that standing together makes us unstoppable. Cheers erupted, hands flew into the air. Daniel stood taller, a glimmer of hope shining in his eyes. They were transforming a moment of fear into a beacon of light, guiding not only their futures but countless others. The businessman's face turned red, his smile replaced with anger. He had thought he could stifle them. But now, a fire lit within the group, uniting them against his self-serving indifference. Just then, Daniel's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out and stared, shock mixing with confusion across his features. The buzzing ceased as he locked eyes with Grace. "It's my family," he said, voice trembling. "They've heard everything and they want to meet. Right now." The crowd quieted, all eyes fastened to Daniel as he processed the weight of his next words. The stage was set for an unexpected reunion, and tension hung heavily in the air. What awaited them as their paths intertwined, and would Daniel's family embrace the truth he was finally ready to tell? Would it pull them closer together or tear them apart? Daniel's heart raced, every beat echoing in his ears like a drum roll before the big reveal. He could almost see the shadow of doubt creeping into the crowd's eyes, mixing with the anticipation as they waited for him to decide. The phone felt heavy in his hand, almost like a promise he had to keep. He glanced at Grace, her expression filled with concern and encouragement. She had been his anchor throughout this storm, and he felt that grounding presence urging him to be brave. "I have to take this," he finally said, determination edging out the fear threatening to unleash his insecurities. As he stepped away, the murmurs in the crowd faded, replaced by a thumping silence. He moved slightly further back, searching for a place where he could hear his family without the weight of their expectant stares. He took another deep breath before swiping to answer. "Hello?" he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Daniel." His mother's voice surged through, a mix of worry and relief. "We heard you speaking earlier. We're on our way. Just please be there." I'm here. I'm ready," he replied, glancing toward Grace, who gave him an encouraging nod. The crowd was still, holding their collective breath, witnessing this pivotal moment. As he ended the call, Daniel felt another wave of uncertainty wash over him. What if they didn't understand? What if they couldn't accept the changes he'd made? He clenched his fist, grounding himself in the fact that he had just found his own voice again. He wanted to show them how he had started to reclaim his life. A honking horn pulled him from his thoughts. He turned, and to his shock, he saw his family's car pulling up. A spark of anxiety bubbled up inside him, causing a whirlwind of emotions to swirl. His parents stepped out, looking simultaneously proud and anxious. His mother adjusted her scarf, giving a nervous smile, while his father's expression was a blend of concern and curiosity. The brief distance felt monumental as they approached, the air thick with unsaid words. Daniel's heart clenched. Was he ready to share all that had changed? Shouting the truth into the world felt liberating, but the thought of revealing it to the people he loved was daunting. "Hey, Mom, Dad," he said, trying to sound casual despite the weight in his chest. "I'm glad you came." "Sweetheart, we've been so worried about you," his mother replied, her voice soft yet insistent. "We just wanted to understand." Daniel took a step closer, swallowing hard. "I wanted to explain everything. About my job, what happened, and where I am now." As he spoke, he could see concern flickering in their eyes, reflected in the question of how well they really knew him anymore. The fear he'd faced earlier seeped back, a feeling of vulnerability that left him exposed. "You don't have to do this alone," his father said, his tone steady yet reassuring. "We're here for you." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning, and for the first time in a long time, Daniel felt the warmth of his family's support wrap around him like a comforting blanket. It was a moment he knew would shape their relationship forever. As he began to share his journey, another buzz disrupted the moment. Daniel glanced at his phone, another message illuminating the screen. He hesitated, knowing the crowd was still watching, waiting. With a quick look at his family, he decided to pull it up anyway. Maya's text, he said, feeling the excitement return. She wants us all to come back together. There's a place for everyone to share their stories. A ripple of energy flowed through him. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was about everyone. And that was something that mattered. Would they accept his renewed self, just like he was beginning to accept it? And would they all dare to tell their stories, leaving the shadows of the past behind for a brighter future? As Daniel opened the group message, feeling the weight of connection wash over him anew, he couldn't help but wonder, what stories lay hidden within the hearts of others waiting to be discovered. The buzz of excitement and anticipation hung in the air. Daniel felt the crowd's energy shift as they absorbed his words, the atmosphere thick with shared emotions. He had drawn them in, but uncertainty lingered at the edge of his mind. His family's faces brightened when he mentioned Maya, which sparked a thread of hope in him. Together, he repeated, feeling that word resonate like a heartbeat through him. Maya believes we can support each other. That everyone has something to contribute. His mother nodded slowly, her eyes glistening with understanding. That sounds wonderful, honey. We all have our battles to fight. Maybe we just need to face them with each other. Daniel felt an exhale he hadn't realized he was holding. Exactly. It's not just me who needs to change. We all do. His father took a step closer, placing a hand on Daniel's shoulder. Then we'll do it as a family. Whatever you need, we'll stand by you. The warmth of his father's hand anchored Daniel. He realized that stepping into this new chapter didn't have to be a solitary journey. His heart ached with the bursting desire to share everything, but there were other paths to explore, too. The crowd felt distant yet close, each face holding stories of their own. He could see the flicker of recognition in a few others, eyes wide with empathy. Each heartbeat was a silent encouragement. It wasn't just about his transformation, it was about the community they all struggled to find solace in. Let's set a date to meet up, maybe this weekend? He suggested. We can make this a regular thing. His mother clasped her hands together, her smile widening as she looked at his father. That's a great idea. We could even turn it into a potluck. Daniel's heart swelled. The memories of sharing meals, of laughter and love around their family table filled his mind. This could be the revival of those warm moments, igniting the bonds that had frayed for too long. As he looked at Grace, she beamed brightly. Count me in. I'll help gather everyone. Excitement rippled through him again. He had spent so long in a whirlpool of doubts and fears, but now a buoy was lifted with words. Words that drew them all closer. Suddenly, another message lit up his screen, pulling him back from the glow of the moment. See you tonight? It read from Maya. Daniel furrowed his brow. They hadn't discussed meeting so soon. Had something changed? Is everything okay? Grace asked, peering at him, perceptive as always. I think Maya wants to talk about something urgent, he said, his heart quickening again, this time with apprehension. As the reality settled, Daniel felt a flicker of unease. Maya had become a pivotal part of his journey, and each encounter revealed deeper layers that connected them. What could she possibly want to share tonight that couldn't wait for their group gathering? Before he could dwell on it, he spotted several familiar faces in the crowd, listening intently to their exchange. Among them was someone he hadn't expected to see, the old friend who had once been a confidant and, more recently, a ghost of his past. Their eyes locked for a moment, confusion evident. Hey, Daniel? The voice called him back, drawing him closer. Are you ready to let go of the past? The question hung between them, bold and brimming with implications. Could he truly embrace this next step, not just for himself but for those around him? Maybe tonight, Daniel responded, a shaky breath escaping him. But what would come of their unspoken stories? Could they weave together, heal from the things that once divided them? As the crowd pulsed with curious energy around him, he knew this was just the beginning. He turned back, ready to digest the impending revelations. But would he be prepared for what surprises awaited him as he opened that door? Daniel's thoughts raced. Images of his childhood friend, once so full of humor and dreams, flashed before him like a film reel. They had shared secrets, laughter, and ambitions. But time and circumstance had pulled them apart. Now, here they were, standing on the precipice of something neither could have anticipated. The crowd swirled around him, voices merging into a drone. He felt a tug at his sleeve. Grace was looking up at him, her eyes wide with concern. "Hey, you okay?" she asked, breaking through the fog that surrounded him. "Yeah, it's a lot to take in," he murmured, trying to shake off the unease. He had to focus, to be present. Maya needed him, and he wanted to be there for her, just as she had been for him. "I can go with you if you want," Grace offered, her voice low and steady. "No, this is something I need to do alone," he replied, surprising even himself with the conviction in his voice. He realized that needing support didn't mean he had to shoulder everything as a burden. Sometimes, stepping into the unknown meant taking that leap by yourself. As the meeting wound down, Daniel felt a sense of resolve. He squared his shoulders and turned towards where he had seen Maya waiting, a growing knot of anticipation in his stomach. He spotted her near the edge of the gathering, her dark hair falling in soft waves, as she stood with her arms crossed, lost in thought. "Maya!" he called, weaving through the crowd. She turned, her expression shifting from contemplation to a small smile, and he felt his heart skip a beat. "Hey," she greeted softly, her eyes searching his. "I wasn't sure you'd make it." "I had to," Daniel replied, and the truth of that statement echoed back at him. He was here for her just as much as she had been for him. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice low, almost hesitant, as though she was about to reveal something monumental. "Yeah, let us go grab a coffee or something," he offered, his stomach flipping with nerves. It felt like a first date, the weight of unspoken words hanging between them. They stepped away from the crowd, finding a quiet corner outside the coffee shop. The chill in the air nipped at Daniel's skin, but the warmth radiating from Maya kept him grounded. "Maya," he began, searching for the right words, "what's going on?" She took a deep breath, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her jacket. "I was thinking a lot about how we've all been hiding, trying to get by, you know?" Daniel nodded, bracing for what was to come. "It's been tough. I want to be honest with you," she continued, her gaze steady. "There's something I haven't shared. Something about my past, about why I've felt so connected to you." His heart raced. "What is it?" Maya paused, and for a moment, he could see determination and fear dance across her features. "Before I moved here, I experienced something life-changing. I struggled, really struggled. And the truth is I took a huge risk to turn my life around." Daniel felt time freeze. He sensed that this wasn't just a casual revelation. Whatever she was about to share would change everything he thought he understood. "Maya, you can tell me anything," he urged, leaning in, and he felt that familiar warmth between them shifting, transforming into something electric. She took another deep breath, and just as she was about to spill the secret, her phone buzzed loudly, breaking the silence. Maya glanced at it, and her expression tensed. I need to take this," she said, stepping back slightly, urgency threading through her words. As she answered the call, Daniel was left standing there, heart racing, stomach knotted. What would she say? What was the truth she had kept hidden? The air between them crackled with unspoken possibilities, and he realized the path they were on might just lead them to answers unlike anything either had anticipated. But as Maya turned, the weight of the conversation loomed larger than before. Would they manage to bridge the chasm between them and face the truths that would shape their journey? Daniel stood, heart pounding, as he watched Maya tense on the phone. Her expression shifted through a range of emotions: worry, urgency, and finally resolution. He felt the energy between them vibrate with anticipation, each silent second stretching into a profound moment. After she hung up, she turned back to him, the gravity of the call still hanging heavy in the air. "Sorry about that," she said, a hint of breathlessness in her voice. "It was about the rally. There's been a stronger response than we anticipated." Surprise flickered through him. "Stronger? How so?" Maya looked down briefly, then back into his eyes. "People are mobilizing, local organizations, even media outlets are interested. This could be our chance to amplify the message," she explained, her voice lighter yet tinged with apprehension. "But they want a high-profile interview with you." His palms turned clammy, the weight of the decision pressing on him. His heart raced with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. "I am not sure. Is now the right time? What if I'm not ready?" "Daniel, it's okay to feel that way," she said softly. "You can take your time. But not everyone has that privilege. Many people wait their whole lives for a moment like this." He felt the weight of her words, each one resonating deep within him. "It's not just about me, is it? It's about everyone else." "Exactly," she replied, her voice stronger now. "This is bigger than us. We can use this moment to share not just your story but give a voice to many others fighting for dignity, for recognition." Her eyes sparkled with urgency, and something shifted inside Daniel. A sense of understanding washed over him, and the fear began to dissipate like fog under the sun. "Okay," he said, conviction filling his voice. "Let us do it. But I want to share my truth, the whole truth. The good, the bad, it all matters." Maya smiled, a fierce joy lighting up her face. "That's the spirit. Just be yourself, and we'll present it with all the raw honesty you can muster." A wave of relief washed over him. For too long, he had hidden his truths like they were burdens. But now, he could share it all: the struggles, the hopes, the failures. He felt a weight lifting, replaced by a glimmer of hope. "Let us gather everyone tonight. This is our chance," she said. The thought of standing up in front of all those people no longer felt suffocating. It was empowering. "Yes. I'll call Grace and my family. We'll make it a community event. Yes. Together, we'll change the narrative." Maya grinned before her expression turned serious. "And there's something else I want to discuss. As much as I want you to voice your truth, there's also a part of my past I need to share. But I've been afraid." Her vulnerability made Daniel's heart swell. "Whatever it is, I promise you, I'll listen." Taking a deep breath, she spoke again. "Before I moved here, I was facing my own demons, wrestling with choices that nearly cost me everything. I had to challenge the status quo too, but talking about it is terrifying. I know it feels daunting, but you've already faced so much. You can't silence your own story," he urged, understanding more than he had before about the power of sharing and vulnerability. Her eyes searched his, and in that moment, they both knew, this was their time. Tonight would be a pivotal step toward transformation, not just for Daniel, but for Maya, for Grace, and for everyone fighting against indifference. As they turned back toward the bustling park, determination crackled in the air. Grace's smile greeted them from afar, and they felt the bonds of community tightening around them, growing in strength and hope. "All right. Let us go inspire others to join us in sharing their stories," Maya said, excitement flickering in her voice. As they set off, Daniel felt a rush of gratitude for Grace, for the community gathering, and for the opportunity to reclaim his narrative. He whispered a silent promise to himself: tonight would be a celebration of voices, a revolution sparked by truth and compassion. It was time. Ascending from fear, heart open to the world ahead, they were ready to light the way for others lost in shadows, their collective journey now intertwined, igniting hope like never before. And as night settled, the streets of Chicago would resound with the symphony of courage, echoing a transformational call that could inspire change far and wide. This was their moment, and they would seize it with all their might. Now is your chance to make a difference. Subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't wait another second to miss out on the next exclusive stories. You need to hit that like button now to feed the algorithm, and comment your reactions and feelings about this heartfelt ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support is vital. Only true fans understand how important it is to stand together as a community.